Marrying a woman who was both beautiful and intelligent felt like a miracle. But dreams, they eventually come to an end. 3 years have passed since our divorce, and when I unexpectedly ran into my former wife, I was at a loss for words. The woman before me, once glamorous, now toils as a janitor, drenched in sweat. Why is she here? I found myself involuntarily calling out to her from behind. As she turned around, with a face looking like she might burst into tears any moment, she locked eyes with me and revealed a shocking truth. My name is Steve. As usual, while getting ready in the morning, I looked at my wife, Emily's face. She's beautiful. Graduating from a prestigious university and working in the business district of Wall Street, she's admired by many as a talented woman. But lately, something's different about her. We used to start our days sharing breakfast with a smile, but now, it's just perfunctory greetings. Our story began in the high school library. Even back then, she was already shining, bright, lively, and possessing the strength to overcome any difficulty with a smile. Back then, I was a reserved and shy boy. Just being near her made my heart race, and I felt happiness all day from just one of her smiles. She was one of the top students in our grade, respected and admired by classmates. Even then, I was drawn to her talent and personality, but I lacked the courage to express my feelings. So, as a library committee member, I cherished the time spent together with her. And then, 5 years later, on the night of a reunion, our fate changed. Although we had been walking our separate paths, reminiscing about old times reignited those old feelings. She had graduated from university and was working for a major company in New York. I'm just an average office worker in my hometown. Her beauty, intelligence, and strength captivated me all over again. As we started dating, we spent every weekend together. She always appreciated the plans I made, and her smile was my motivation. Sunsets by the beach, local festivals, we created many beautiful memories together. Being with her made my ordinary days feel special. One winter night, on a park bench, I proposed to her. My voice trembled with nervousness, but her yes was the most beautiful music of my life. That night, we talked about our future dreams and promised to support each other. Our mornings used to be precious times spent together. She always woke up early, making coffee and breakfast in the kitchen. During that time, I would read the newspaper and discuss the day's plans. But lately, she quickly showers and leaves without breakfast as soon as she gets up. I drink my coffee alone, waiting in the quiet kitchen, but there's no conversation. Today, once again, she leaves the house early. I hold my coffee cup, watching her go. Her bag seems more distant than before. On my way to work, I wonder, what has changed? How well do we really understand each other? Memories of high school, our reunion at the coming-of-age ceremony, and our marriage, all these are beautiful memories in my heart. But reality isn't always sweet. Something's happening in our relationship. It's frustrating that all I can do is feel it happening. However, this independent spirit of mine might have become a hindrance in our married life. I often imposed my views and opinions on my wife. In my mind, a family was like a project that should be managed efficiently and without issues. But my wife was different. She was more emotional and sometimes made irrational demands. It was incomprehensible to me, but now I realize it was part of how she expressed her love. Also, while I was proud of my work, perhaps I didn't support my wife's career enough. As she became successful and recognized in her field, complex feelings began to grow within me. Sometimes, I felt her success was hurting my pride. In my heart, prioritizing my own success was more important than supporting my wife. And gradually, our communication diminished. Our dinner conversations shortened, and our weekend dates became formalities. We stopped opening up to each other and became mere cohabitants. I often brought the stress of work home, forgetting the warmth and kindness that should exist between my wife and me. Thus, a gap gradually formed between us, deepening day by day. My heart was caught between work and home, unable to find the right balance. My father has always been a strict man. He constantly emphasized the importance of work, ingraining that spirit in me. As a self-employed man who carved his own path, he often said when I was a child, in life, it's crucial to stand on your own feet. Because of his influence, I grew up with a strong sense of independence. learning to overcome difficulties on my own. In contrast, my mother cherished family and was a warm-hearted person. She always said, "Family is the treasure of life," teaching me the importance of familial bonds. Her influence made me deeply love my family, always putting their happiness first. My wife's family, especially my in-laws, greatly influenced our marriage. My father-in-law is a gentleman, always encouraging and supporting my wife. He always shows my wife that your happiness is our happiness. On the other hand, my mother-in-law is a strong-willed woman who has fully supported my wife's career. She instills in my wife the belief that it's important to follow your own path and pursue your dreams. Through my interactions with my wife's family, I've come to understand her inner world more deeply. I realized how independent she is and how seriously she takes her career. I also saw the depth of the love she received from her family and how it influences her life decisions. The involvement of both my parents and my wife's parents has significantly impacted our marital relationship. With the support and love of our families, we're navigating challenges and reconnecting with understanding. It reminded us how important the bond of family is to us. I had noticed that my wife had been acting strangely lately. She used to come home and happily share her day's events, but now she remains silent and seems to hide her emotions. During the difficult period in our marriage, I coincidentally reconnected with an old high school friend, Mike. Mike is one of the few people who knew we've been together since high school. "It's been a while, Steve. How have you been?" "Well, actually, I've been having some family issues." I hesitantly shared our situation with him. Mike listened intently with a serious expression. "You two were really close back in high school. You were always together and seemed so happy. But people change, you know. Maybe you're both expecting too much from each other now." Mike's words carried weight. Perhaps we were bound by the sweet memories of high school, unable to accept the changes in reality. I realized that the deterioration in our relationship was due to a lack of mutual understanding and respect. "You know, there's still hope for you both. Embrace your differences and start anew. It won't be the same as before, but you can forge a new relationship." That day, the conversation with Mike offered me a new perspective. I began to reevaluate my relationship with my wife, understanding the importance of accepting each other's growth and changes. Thanks to Mike's advice, I found the courage to take the first step towards building a new relationship with my wife. Meeting Mike again was a significant turning point for me. His words resonated with me and served as a catalyst to reevaluate our marriage. It became a guiding light for a reunion and reconciliation with my wife. The next morning, I mustered up the courage to ask, "Are you okay? Is there a problem at work? It's really tough. There's so much pressure, and no matter what I do, I don't get appreciated by my boss." I started looking for ways to support my wife. I decided not to force her to talk about work and to quietly be there for her. On weekends, I tried to create some relaxing time for her by taking her to her favorite cafe. This stress from my wife's job was affecting our relationship, but I resolved not to leave her alone. No matter what, I would continue to support her by her side. That, I believed, was my duty as a husband. As days passed, the pressure of her work only increased, affecting our relationship even more. I tried my best to support her, planning her favorite activities on the weekends and providing her with time to relax and escape her stress. However, her stress was beyond what my efforts could alleviate. The conversations during dinner dwindled day by day, and she started avoiding talking about her work. Her smiles became rare, and the house was enveloped in a quiet, tense atmosphere. Amidst this, I was entrusted with an important project at work. This project was of particular significance within the company and a big opportunity for me. But it involved negotiations with the company she worked for. This situation was a challenging intersection of my professional and private life. While the success of the project was important to me, it also introduced new tensions in our relationship. I was focused on the project but couldn't forget my concern for her. Thinking about the impact of her stress on our relationship filled me with anxiety. As the project advanced, she became increasingly absorbed in her work, further reducing our time together. I tried to understand her, but her heart seemed elusive, and it felt like an invisible wall had formed between us. In this situation, I had to visit her workplace for the project. Perhaps to avoid me, she wasn't there. Respecting her feelings, I focused on the negotiations. Although the path to success was clear, a deep sense of loneliness remained inside me. Dinner time used to be our moment of communication. We would share the events of our day, surrounding the dinner table with enjoyable conversations. But now, dinners are mostly silent, with conversation reduced to just a single phrase, "It was good." She quickly finishes her meal and returns to her room. As I clean up after dinner, I wonder what changed her. One night, I overheard her talking on the phone. I'm at my limit. Her voice sounded exhausted. I was taken aback by this frail tone I had never heard from her before. After the call, she let out a deep sigh. Concerned about my wife, I finally suggested a time to talk. On a weekday night, we sat on the living room sofa, with silence dominating the room. I carefully chose my words and spoke. "What's been going on lately? If there's something bothering you, I'm here to talk. We're family. Let's solve this together." Her workplace is highly competitive, and she was always expected to perform at a high level. Having graduated from a prestigious university and started her career as an elite, this was her first real challenge. She has always been hard on herself, striving for perfection. That's why the situation was overwhelming her. Hearing her words, I finally understood all her recent actions. Her cold attitude at home was a result of her stress at work. She was so consumed with work that she had no time to relax, even at home. However, her response to me was cold. "What do you understand? You're just an average employee." Those words deeply wounded my heart. All I was doing was worrying about her. In the days that followed, the atmosphere at home became the worst. I tried to initiate conversations multiple times, but my wife remained unyielding in her refusal. Then, one night, she suddenly declared she wanted a divorce. "Think it over. Let's work this out together. I don't want to consider a divorce." Despite my objections, her mind was made up. Our relationship had become irreparable. The divorce discussions continued. On the day the divorce was finalized, I signed the legal documents. It was the moment my married life with my wife ended. I couldn't read what she was thinking from her expression at that time. After the divorce, I started living alone. Every day, I reflect on my decisions. Why did it come to this? Where did I go wrong? But I can't find an answer. There's just one thing I'm sure of. That is to have the courage to start over. My heart is still wounded, but over time, I believe it will gradually heal. To walk a new path in life, I have no choice but to look forward. After the divorce, I reevaluated myself. Channeling my frustration into motivation, I immersed myself in work. I stayed at the office late every day and dedicated weekends to personal development. To improve both my personal and professional appeal, I began to focus more on my appearance. Particularly now, as I was tasked with a significant new project at the company. This project was a major undertaking within the company. Our system was crucial for supporting the operations of local small and medium-sized businesses. However, the technical complexities and tight schedule weighed heavily on me. One day, I was called in by the project leader, Mr. Thompson. He said sternly, "Steve, this project is a great opportunity for you. Failure is not an option." His words weighed heavily on my heart. The success of this project was crucial for my career advancement, but the turmoil of my divorce was disturbing my focus. During this time, a colleague, Mr. Johnson, joined the project team. He was my closest friend at the company, and we could talk about anything. His involvement was a beacon of hope for me. As the project moved forward, our team worked in unison, tackling the challenges. With Mr. Johnson's support, we gradually began to overcome the difficulties. Thanks to him, I learned how to cope with pressure. And on the project deadline day, we successfully completed the system. Mr. Thompson patted me on the shoulder, saying, "Well done, Steve." At that moment, a sense of accomplishment and newfound confidence bloomed in my chest. The success of the project brought significant benefits. My efforts and the team's work were recognized, solidifying my position in the company. This success opened new pathways in my career. As part of this, I began preparing for the next big task, a crucial business negotiation. The company in question was a well-known major corporation in the region. Coincidentally, it was the same company my ex-wife had previously worked for. This was my second negotiation with them. The first was when she was still employed there. Her presence stirred unease within, yet the confidence gained from the project and Mr. Johnson's advice sustained me. I prepared meticulously for the negotiation. I revised the proposal content and practiced the presentation repeatedly. If this negotiation succeeded, it would be a significant leap in my career. Yet, at the same time, memories of my ex-wife crossed my mind, leaving me with mixed feelings. On the day of the negotiation, with my heart prepared and despite feeling nervous, I stepped into the company. Amidst my mixed feelings of hope and anxiety about her possible presence, she was nowhere to be seen. Knowing she was no longer there brought me some relief, but also a sense of loneliness. Perhaps she had changed jobs to avoid meeting me. Accepting this, I decided to focus on the negotiation. The negotiation was successful, and my career continued to flourish. As a result, I was promoted and gained confidence in my life. However, she was always there in the corner of my heart. Even after the success, I continued to excel in my work. With the promotion came new responsibilities, and I became busier. But no matter how much success I achieved at work, loneliness hit me when I returned to an empty home. Thoughts of my ex-wife and memories with her brought pain. One evening, during dinner with Mr. Johnson, he said to me, "Steve, are you still hung up on her? It's time, man. Let's look forward." His words carried a mix of sternness and deep friendship. It was with Mr. Johnson's help that I could achieve my current career success. His words brought me a new realization. The following week, I went on a short trip to face myself. In a quiet seaside town, I took long walks to sort out my feelings. I cherished the good memories with my ex-wife but resolved to look forward to a new future. After returning home, I decided to bring changes to my life. I found new hobbies, made new friends, and started participating in community volunteer work. Caught up in married life and work, I had never thought about making time for myself, but the divorce made me feel the need to start something new. During that time, I came across a flyer for a local photography class by chance. Photography, huh? With that thought, I decided to visit the class. Initially, it was just a distraction, but gradually, I became captivated by the allure of photography. The world through the lens of a camera appeared different. Colors, light, shadows. Beautiful moments that I usually overlooked were there. In the class, I met various people, an elderly couple, college students, and other office workers like me, all capturing their own worlds through photography. Among them, I befriended a woman named Ms. Wilson, who cherished capturing the local scenery as her hobby. Her photographs had a sense of nostalgia and warmth. My encounters with Ms. Wilson gave me a fresh perspective. Photography, I learned, wasn't just about recording. It was about capturing the emotions of a moment and a place. I began to develop my own style, photographing cityscapes, expressions of people, and small day-to-day events. One day, I attended a local festival with Ms. Wilson. There, I captured the smiles of dancing people, the innocent expressions of children, and the beauty of long-standing traditions. These photos later attracted many eyes at a class exhibition. People commented on my photos, saying, "The familiar scenes look refreshingly new." Through photography, I started having time to introspect and connect with myself. I began to notice emotions I had long forgotten and small joys that were previously overlooked. Conversations with Ms. Wilson brought new light into my heart. She listened to my stories quietly, sometimes offering encouragement, and at times showing empathy. This new hobby provided me with a journey of self-discovery. Through photography, I found new meaning in my daily life and rediscovered the beauty of life. Photography became my new passion, bringing light to my life after the divorce. While participating in the photography class, I also ventured into community volunteer work. I saw it as a good opportunity to introspect. My first activity was a local cleanup. It involved picking up litter in parks and along riverbanks, attracting people of various ages. Though nervous, I actively engaged with other volunteers. They all shared a common desire to contribute to the community, a feeling that grew stronger in me as well. Next, I participated in recreational activities at a local senior home. Initially unsure how to interact, I soon learned a lot from the elderly residents' life experiences and warm personalities. Interacting with them was a significant inspiration and offered me a new perspective on life. As I continued volunteering, I made new friends. Particularly, I connected with a man named Mr. Taylor, who had also experienced divorce. We had many common topics and quickly became close. We shared our experiences of rebuilding life after divorce and supported each other. Moreover, volunteering inspired my photography, adding new dimensions to my work. The photos of elderly smiles I captured during my activities at the senior home were especially well received at the photography class exhibition. Through those photos, I realized the importance of human connections. Volunteering allowed me to feel my own growth and discover the joy of contributing to others. After the turning point of my divorce, I found new values and purposes in life. I plan to continue these activities, enriching my own life. I will use the confidence gained from my professional success in other parts of life. A few months later, I unexpectedly ran into my ex-wife in town. She looked surprised, but I calmly smiled and spoke to her. It's good to see her doing well. In our brief conversation, we learned that each of us was walking a new path in life, and we sincerely wished each other happiness. Since that day, I've been able to move forward in my life without being trapped by the past. This success of the project brought not only a sense of accomplishment in work, but also marked a new beginning in life. I embraced this new version of myself and decided to imagine a new future. 3 years later, on a routine day, I was inspecting a subcontractor company for work. In the hallway of that company, I looked up and unexpectedly locked eyes with my ex-wife, now a janitor. She looked noticeably thinner than before, and her eyes carried a profound sadness. Surprised, I involuntarily spoke out. "Emily, what happened? You're working here. It doesn't concern you, does it? We're strangers now, but you've changed so much. I'm worried about you. I don't need your concern." Saying this, she pushed me away and tried to resume cleaning. But at that moment, she suddenly trembled and collapsed. "Emily." I rushed to her side and called an ambulance. As I waited in the hospital, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I had no idea she was sick, suffering so much. The ticking of the clock on the waiting room wall echoed as memories flooded my mind. The happy days when we were married, and how we gradually drifted apart. I was deep in thought. If only I had tried to understand her more. If only we had spent more time together. All I could do was wait quietly for her to recover, thinking about what I could do for her. Emily underwent emergency surgery. Later, the doctor informed me of a shocking fact. She had been battling cancer. She had been fighting the disease for over a year. I wondered if her change in behavior during our divorce was somehow related to her illness. At that moment, her parents arrived at the hospital. In the hospital waiting room, my in-laws sat quietly beside me. Their faces were etched with deep sadness and concern. "Steve, she couldn't tell you about her illness," her father said softly. "She always said, 'I want my ex-husband to find new happiness.' That's why she acted so coldly towards you." I could only nod, feeling a crushing mix of guilt and regret. In the waiting room, my mind oscillated between past memories and the present reality. When my ex-wife awoke, the traces of her battle with the illness were evident in her eyes, but they had regained the warmth of the past. "I'm sorry for worrying you," she said weakly. "No, I'm sorry for not realizing," I replied, holding her hand. Tears filled our eyes, bridging the years of misunderstanding and a gap in our hearts. "Let's start over. As a family, let's overcome this together. Thank you." Together again. Her condition, as explained by the doctor, was severe, but she bravely faced her treatment. I, too, gave my full support. Throughout her long battle with the illness, we came to understand each other deeply once again. And when her cancer miraculously began to recede, we decided to remarry. The wedding, held in a small chapel, symbolized a new beginning for us. Her illness changed her, and it changed me too. We built a stronger bond by overcoming adversity together. From now on, let's overcome anything together, we promised each other. We returned to a normal life as a couple. Morning coffee, weekends spent together, and dinners we cooked together. These moments were not flashy, but they were invaluable to us. Her illness taught us the meaning of living. We learned how strong love can be. Our story is about two people who overcame trials and found happiness again. Walking along the beach, with the sound of the waves, we moved forward into the future. Our story proves that even in hardship, there is love and hope, and it is not an end, but a new beginning.